adjustment. So we're going to get a little deeper than just coming in and having your back put in place, and we're going to talk about really the different kinds of care and how we can manage stress with chiropractic. Can everybody see us okay? Okay, so there's basically four different kinds of care, and I think everybody's probably started with symptomatic care, and that's when you come in with pain or inflammation or a symptom of some kind. So you come in complaining of something. And that's usually when I see most people, unless they've just moved here. But most people start with chiropractic because of pain. Okay? Then disease care is if you come in for treatment of disease. And we have people who come in like for constipation or ulcers or diverticulitis or asthma or allergies, those kinds of things. And that's disease care. And preventative care is patients that come in because they don't want to get sick. And I see a lot of that in the fall. People don't want to get flu shots, so they'll come in once a month in order to keep their immune system stimulated, and so they don't get the colds and the flus in the fall time. So we see that a lot for especially the colds and flus and the immune system problems. And then wellness care, and some of you are doing this, is when you come in at every interval, like a week or 2 weeks or a month, and you come in just every so often to keep everything aligned so that you feel good. And that's when you get the most benefit from chiropractic, is either preventative care or wellness care. So we try to get most of our patients try to understand that wellness care is an important part. It's not just get rid of your pain and then you can quit. You got to keep going in order to get the full benefit of what we're trying to do. And that's what we're going to talk about, is what wellness care really does to the spine and to the nervous system. Because that's what most people don't really understand. They feel good and they think they're done. So I don't think has anybody heard of stress, or I have to explain that?
New word.
Yeah, really. Well, if you've come into the office during the month, we've been talking about stress all month, and we've talked about basically three different kinds. We started with the physical stress, and that's anything to do with the body, anything that you can feel. So pain would be physical stress, inflammation, exercise can cause physical stress. Not sleeping correctly can cause physical stress, cause headaches and pain in the back and tiredness and fatigue. So all those types are physical stress. And the chiropractic is, that's what most people come in for, is physical stress. And then there's the emotional stress, of course. And we all know what that is, and that's at the end of the day when you sit down and you're just exhausted, but you really don't know what happened that made you so tired. That's that mental exhaustion feeling. And that's a little harder, but chiropractic, and I will show you, also can help with that. And the third kind is biochemical or nutritional stress. And of course, we all know different ways of that when you have different foods that are good for you. Of course, the toxins, the GMO, the additives, the colors, the artificial flavors, the sprays, insecticides, soil that's not organic soil or not is depleted where they raise our foods, or food is depleted in minerals. Ingesting like environmental toxins like paints or fumes, or exercising by roads that are busy where you're ingesting or breathing fumes out of cars. Those kinds of things are all environmental type stresses. Another common thing that people aren't aware of is fragrances in like candles and personal products like hair products and lotions and stuff that come out. We have whole stores on pretty perfumey kinds of things, and those produce something called xenohormones in your body. And what those are is an artificial estrogen that's produced. And when that gets high in your body, if you use a lot of those things, then those artificial estrogens throw your hormone balance off. And you can have a lot of hormonal imbalance problems because of the fragrances and stuff that are in all the products. Candles are another big one that they add a lot in. So essential oils do not cause that. So if people want, things that smell good, lavender and those kinds of things, essential oils is what people should be using instead of the artificial kinds of fragrances. I keep forgetting how to say that, but the different aromas that we want. Okay, so we're going to start with the brain, which is not the first thing you hear about, usually talked about when there's stress. But our brain basically is our world, and what makes us. It's where our nervous system starts, and our nervous system controls everything. So every organ, every part of our body is controlled by the brain. And we have the two hemispheres, and they're supposed to work back and forth, the right and the left. But when we have stress, it doesn't really matter what kind, we shift to one side. So we get a right brain or a left brain, and it's not into our control. It will just happen. And so when it shifts, those nerve pathways actually will shut down. And so one side of the brain will not function very well. And I don't know if you know people who've been under chronic stress, but they tend to become very emotional. They have a hard time talking through or thinking through problems. They just kind of react to situations after a while under chronic stress. And that's one reason, is because part of the brain, usually the rational part of the brain, is starting to shut down. The nerve pathways actually will not work anymore, so there can't be the normal communication between the right and the left side of the brains. Trauma will do that. Sometimes people with car accidents, they get depressed or anxious. Those are two big examples, is depression and anxiety, because one side of the brain is overfunctioning. So that's something to look for. Any kind of trauma, it can be abusive situations as well. Anything like that will shut down part of the brain. So the other side will become weak, the side that's shutting down, obviously, and the one side starts to dominate. And that side will stay strong. So what happens on the strong side? And I don't know how many people in here haven't said your leg is short or your one side is twisted in your pelvis. And a lot of times that can be because of stress. Because on your strong side, your leg will shorten, your arm on that side will get strong, and your neck muscles will be tighter. So as one side shut down, the other side becomes the dominant side, and your other side kind of starts to weaken and atrophy. Now there are other causes of a short leg, obviously. One leg doesn't grow, or you have a scoliosis or something. But a lot of people, it becomes something like this, where the muscles are just deteriorating on one side because that side of the brain is beginning to shut down. And it can range. It can be minimal problems, or we use 1 to 10, they use 1 to 5, but it can be any kind of an intensity. It can be real severe, or it can be mild. That's why we try to get children to come to chiropractors, because we can catch that soon if there's a problem, and we can balance that. So the result is our body and skeleton and bones, the muscles, the nerves, the organs, and everything becomes out of balance. And I'm sure everybody knows those little people who walk around all bent over, who looking down more than they're looking up, or they're all crooked and they can't stand up. And some of this is what's happened, is that their body starts to get that curvature because the brain is imbalanced because of the stress and it hasn't been corrected. So that's why the wellness, when we do wellness care, that's what we are trying to prevent, is this continual curvature in the spine and the weakening of one side of the spine, and we keep them balanced so that over a lifetime that you don't get that way. So this would be a normal brain. All your energy, if you think of the body, the nervous system is kind of an electrical system, and the brain is the electrical switching station, or the substation, where you see all the wires and all the circuits together. That's kind of the brain where everything is happening, and that's what produces the energy. And then the energy will go down the spine, and there's motion, and it should be even motion, and that brings information to the cells, and then the cells will respond to the information, and they reproduce normally and have their normal function. And that's the way we want it to be. But when we have stress, we have subluxations. And I don't know if all of you know what that is, but that's basically what we're adjusting. That's the areas of the spine that are out of place, or where there's a pinched nerve. So where there's subluxations, there's loss of motion. And I'm sure, everyone sitting here can point to their main spot that's a problem. If it's in their neck or up here or down here, everybody's got kind of some spots that are, everybody says, well, why are those always out of place? Well, that's kind of why. It's because the nervous system from the top is sending it down, telling them that these are the areas that are not going to be functioning right. So you get the lack of information then to the body cell, and then you're going to get dysfunction and disease. And so that's why you get the curvature, because the muscles start to atrophy and start to deteriorate, and the nerves do. And then those, of course, the same nerves that go to the muscles go to the organs. And so over time, then the organs will start to be affected. It could be kidneys or liver, or like colon or asthma with the lungs, those types of things, because the cells are not getting the proper information that they need. Does everybody know what a rheostat is? What a rheostat is? It's in an electrical switch, and it keeps the current going through it, so your lights will come on. Okay, if the rheostat doesn't work, then your lights go off, basically. So it just keeps the current flowing. So that's kind of what the spine and the nervous system does. If the rheostat doesn't work, or if our brain shuts down on one side, our light bulbs go off, basically, if you think of it as an electrical system. The electricity will not go through anymore, and so we don't get function anymore. We get a low current, we have dim activity, we don't have health on this side. But if we can keep the electricity going through the spine, the light bulb comes on, everything's working correctly, you get a normal current, and you have health, and you feel good. So that's kind of how our nervous system looks, much like a light bulb would, or electrical current. A lot of times I compare the atlas up here as a circuit breaker. Does everybody know what a circuit breaker is and what it does? If it goes out, everything just kind of shuts down. Well, that's kind of up here in the neck. When you get under stress, the first thing that will shut down is the top of your neck, and it'll shut down the information coming out of the brain to the spinal cord, shutting down the information going to the whole body. And so that's when disease and problems start, is when that happens. Any questions? Am I going too fast? Any questions so far? No? Everybody got quiet. Do we need to get our energy going again? Okay, so a balanced brain, you get that by balancing and aligning the spine, and then all systems are go. You start to align it, you get it straighter, and like I said, sometimes it's for other reasons too. We're born sometimes with different problems in the spine, but for a lot of us, it's because of stress that our bodies will shift the way they do, and that's why it continually wants to go out of place. So what happens when we get an adjustment? We reboot the brain. We get the brain functioning again so that it's normal, so that both sides will be balanced. So you're balancing the brain, you're getting the right and left sides to talk to each other normally. That's called lateralizing, when it only is one-sided. And I'm sure you know people who are really rational, who are really detailed, and then you know those who are just really emotional. You say anything and they're just like, and they're running around and crying real easy. And so those are the people who are having problems with that, with the brain functioning both sides of the brain. So that's adjustments can help with that, because you're getting both sides to function normal. The weak side will be stronger. So if you have a side that's weaker, those muscles will start to get developed. Your systems will be balanced. So your heart, the lungs, the digestive system, reproductive system, everything will become balanced. You get increased motion. I think probably the biggest thing is in the neck that I see that a lot is they'll come in and say, oh, after that first adjustment, I can see where I'm backing. Now I can turn around and look. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, what did you do before your adjustment? Are you backing into everybody or what? But good thing we have mirrors, I think. But that's really common with adjustments. And then you get maximum information to the body so that you stay healthy. And then you get healing through replacing the sick cells with normal cells. You start to get a signal to those cells, and they'll start to regenerate. So some people are like, well, why are you adjusting my neck when I'm complaining about my low back? They don't, and that's the answer, is because we're trying to rebalance the system, and you can't get the energy to the back if you don't have it coming from the top. So you need to get the energy coming down from the brain downward. So even though you don't have neck pain or neck problems even, I will sometimes lightly even work on the neck just to stimulate the meridians and the acupuncture and the chi in the body to get that energy to start flowing from the spine all the way down. Here we have a normal person. So our brain has been adjusted. I got our energy back. He's strong on both sides. We got emotion all the way through the spine equally. We're getting equal information. We have normal function, and we have restored health. And so that's what wellness care is, and that's what wellness care is about. Really, and chiropractic is about, is restoring the spine and the normal function to the whole body, not just to the back or just to get rid of the pain that people have. It's to get their whole bodies to be balanced and normal. Big question is, am I going to use this before I'm finished? I think if anybody doesn't care, I'm just going to do it this way. Start over. Okay. So as we get vertical alignment, or as we get adjusted, we keep our balance. So I don't know, as some people come in complaining of balance problems, that they can't stand as good as they can, or they're falling more, and what can I do? Well, a lot of them have pretty severe scoliosis and have never taken care of it, never kept their spine mobile, so they're a lot of arthritis and a lot of curvature, and so they're getting the incorrect information to their muscles, which is throwing them off balance. They can't stand straight and maintain that balance. So with the vertical alignment, you also get the horizontal balance going across. You will stand straighter and you will have that balance. So health will come from the above, comes from the brain, goes down the spine, and then it goes inside your cells and then out to the tissue, out to the organs, out to the muscles, so that we can function normally and we have a normal potential. And we have happy. He's a happy guy. So everybody needs a chiropractic, and again, the children, especially the children, because their bones haven't fused. So if we can, correct any problems when they're young, then we don't have to do as much as long as they don't have the severe problems and less sickness and that kind of thing. And that's why chiropractic helps with like ear infections and colic and those kinds of problems, because you're balancing the nervous system before they get old enough where it is lateralized. You can keep your brain equal. They've cut out the scoliosis screenings in the school, and so I think in either end of July or August we're going to have a free pediatric week where we're going to do screenings for children. So if anybody knows anyone, he'll probably get a postcard that when we'll do it, but we'll do free screenings and check the children, anybody that you know that would like to come in and see if their backs are doing okay or if they're developing a scoliosis. Some of them have the severe hereditary kind, and those need to be watched pretty closely. So make sure you bring anybody in that you need to, that might need care, and we do free consultations with anybody to tell them and check them out and see what they need. And if price is a problem, we can have different plans and different ways to work out the fees. So that's what wellness care is about, is taking care of our bodies from little up. Does anybody have any questions? Like I said, that was quite a bit in a little bit of time.
So Jan, when you give an adjustment to probably, I guess, a new patient, can you tell which side of the brain is the stronger?
You can, because of the muscle strength and which leg is short, which side is stronger. The majority of people that are right-handed have the right short leg. If the right side is stronger.
The right side, so the left side is shut down then.
And that's, yeah.
And the left side is what now? The left side of your brain
It's
Like-
emotional.
is emotion?
Yeah. Right side is more rational. I think that's the way that works. So the other side, when, like, let's take this picture for an example. If you're right-handed, let's see, his right would be over here, and this side becomes stronger, these muscles attach to this side of the spine, and so you start to get a curvature towards the strong side. So that's why that curve develops, because the other side is shutting down and getting weak, and this side's becoming strong, and they attach to the spine, pulling it over, giving that kind of C-shaped curvature to the spine. And that's when they get a lot of the really severe muscle tension up here, people who use their arms a lot. We won't talk about chiropractors, we don't have that problem. But that side will become stronger, and the side that's being used more too, and so you'll get that curvature up there, and that pinches the nerves, giving pain, down the arms and around the chest and up into the neck. A lot of the neck pain starts kind of down in between the shoulders.
So can you do anything about it?
Well, that's what the adjustments do.
You just-
They doing the neck, straightening that so the energy comes down and keeping the spine moving and keeping the motion in the spine.
So you could correct it then.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen with one or two treatments, but yeah, you correct it over time because it's it's accumulated over time, and that's what wellness care is. Once we get rid of the symptoms, we go into preventative and wellness care. We usually have the second phase is really a rehab kind of phase where you get people taking care of themselves. You might go into the nutrition, you go into exercise, you do different things that the patients can participate in to help themselves get better first. And then you get them stabilized so they're, everything is staying where it's supposed to. And then you get into wellness care where they go come every month or 2 weeks or whatever they need to stay aligned, depending on their activity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
A little? But oh no, right? Our brains can't be flooding.
Well, I guess what I'm gonna go back and just gonna go back on what we discussed this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and you took the X-rays, so you found the curvature in there and stuff. I've been doing everything that you have done there and said there for years, and I don't understand why I got that problem then.
Well, I think with that is an injury. Probably.
An injury,
Yeah.
really?
Something that triggered it.
Okay.
And that could happen even though you're
Okay.
doing wellness and you
Yeah,
are stabilized.
yeah.
But just think if you hadn't done that and you weren't taking care of yourself and you weren't exercising and
Okay.
you were overweight and you
Uh-huh.
weren't eating right, and then you injure yourself,
Okay.
you wouldn't be improving at all.
Uh-huh.
It would be debilitating for you. So even though it's bad and it
Okay.
hurts, you still are functioning,
Well, then maybe that
With
happened
restriction.
years back then when I fell and hit the toilet ring when I slid into the bathtub then.
Sure.
Because I did hurt when you first began on my neck and whatever, you asked me then if I had had a car accident or whiplash or whatever, and I said no. But I did fall in the bathtub. And then when I went down, then my back, my neck here anyway, hit the edge of the stool.
That's why it's important to correct them after an injury
Oh, yeah,
pretty
see,
quickly.
and I didn't do that for, oh my gosh.
Because, like
Yeah.
it was in part of your spine, there's a little arthritis starting.
Uh-huh.
But once it's curved and it stays that way and the arthritis starts,
Oh,
then you
okay.
can't straighten the curve. Then it stays curved like that because
okay.
that's what arthritis is. That type of arthritis is a
Uh-huh.
calcification that increases because of an abnormal stress or increased stress on a joint, then it puts down calcium. And that stabilizes it for you so you can
Okay.
still function. So when you get an injury, if you come right in and then we straighten it right away, you don't get the arthritis.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you don't have the longer term effects.
Uh-huh.
But you
So
can't go
maybe-
backwards in time, so you go with what
Yeah.
we have. But
Yeah.
so
Okay.
when arthritis comes, then that always adds
That's
in
why most
another.
people have got arthritis.
Yeah.
Around
As
here,
they get
arthritis
older.
is pretty common.
Yes, they will.
Any other questions? You ready for your massages? I think you're all ready to fall back to sleep on me again.